you know, I don't see myself as, oh, I'm just a middling, you know, middle manager accountant. That's not how I feel. But I try and imbue characters I played with humanity, I suppose, because I think everyone deserves it. If I ever was going to play Hitler, and by the way, I would love to play it, genuinely, I would love to. Honest to God, I would, you know. I'd play Jesus and Hitler. I really would. Because they're great, you know, they're amazing people, amazing characters. Again, I can't emphasise enough, I disagree. I think Hitler was way worse than anything else about Jesus. But... No, I'm finished. I'm just getting started, excuse me. No, I think if you were going to play Hitler as a villain, there's no point, because his CV speaks for itself, you know? The history speaks, yeah, he was a baddie, right? You don't need to play him as a baddie and reinforce that. So I think that, the characters you play should be as good as they can be, you know? I think that give them the shot that they are as good a person as they can be, and we'll let the story and, perspective and other characters decide whether we like them or not. But don't you decide as a player, oh, I'm going to make people hate him or love him. I just think you know, give them a fair hearing and let the story take care of the rest. See, I didn't mention anything else bad. I'm quite safe for it.
Yep.
You say yourself that like you don't usually go for genres, but you've been in a lot of big kind of franchises recently, and has it been a positive experience in terms of fan bases?
Yeah, I mean, The Hobbit is obviously, yes, that's a franchise. What else is a franchise?
Well, the Cornetto films have been pretty big. Sherlock is...
Yeah, but then Sherlock's not, Sherlock wasn't a franchise when I signed up for it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was just a show that may or may not have worked. Put it this way, I'm not overly attracted to, I must get myself in a franchise. I want to, you know, get on that, although there are a lot worse things to be in, you know, for various reasons.
But we're pretty virulent and aggressive about what TV shows we like.
Yeah.
You've become quite popular. So have you noticed the difference in your fan base?
I have. Yeah, I have. I think the dual thing of Sherlock and The Hobbit running at the same time, it's pretty noticeable. Yeah. Because since The Office, you know, my life changed when The Office came out, as far as how people reacted to me and how people were with me, and a kind of level of recognition and stuff. But there are people of your tender ages and even younger who don't even necessarily remember The Office or don't particularly care about The Office. You know, I've met people who don't watch The Office who are fanatical about Sherlock or The Hobbit or whatever. So it's fantastic for me, just from a selfish point of view, that my career is able to sort of reach new people. It's fantastic. And to be part of storytelling that reaches over here and then also gets that bit. And, you know, it's love. No one... With the best will in that, nobody wants to tell stories to an empty room. Nobody, you know. There are some stories that I've told to an almost empty room that I'm still very proud of. But I still think they're good films, but I'd rather more than 80 people had seen them. And so the fact that this sort of reaction happens now and has over the last few years, of course, you know, is very gratifying. Yeah, of course, yeah. Hello. Stand up, let me see your mouth moving. So I'm not being funny, it's just because you've got a big wooden bar in front of you.
In The Hobbit, with all the different creatures and stuff, was there different ways how you would have generated them, or were they all just CGI and stuff?
It's a good question. There were different ways, actually, yeah. There were. A lot of them were CGI. Some of them were builds, you know, things, as we said, that had been built, or just someone standing on a rostrum, on a raised level. So for instance, when I'd be talking to Gandalf, before we'd worked out a way of, through technology, we worked out a way eventually of Ian McKellen and myself could be in the same scene at the same time, just look at Ian, his size, me, my size, having the scene live, him not having to stand on a rostrum, but in order to make the eye line work, they're going to grow him, they're going to make him bigger, keep me my size, so in order to make the eye line work, I've got to look at the top of his hat, and he's got to look at my chest. He's the winner there, I think. I'm here all week. So yeah, that would be one way of doing it. Another way of doing it. Have you seen the film? Have you seen The Hobbit?
Over 10 times.
It's you I have to thank. So that early scene, like when they all come to Bag End, and so the dwarves and Gandalf come to Bag End, and Bilbo's desperately trying to wander around, stopping them eating his food and everything. And we had to film that so that Ian McKellen, as Gandalf, would be in a completely different set, which was 15 yards away. We all had little, what we call earwigs, earpieces in our ear, where we could hear Ian, and he could hear us in his ear, but we had to be looking at false eye lines. So if I was talking to you, I'd pretend that you were up there, and then at a given point I know you'd be walking around there, but all the time, all I'm looking at is like yellow dots on the wall. So we would rehearse the heck out of it, over and over again, so that we knew exactly, it was like rehearsing a play. We knew exactly where Ian would be at any given time, but once the cameras turn over, he's in his little hobbit hole, and and the rest of us who are normal size are in our little hobbit hole, and we are just pretending and flying by the seat of our pants, going on his voice in our ears and our voice in his ears. So while we were looking at crosses, he was looking at, literally, lit up tennis balls with pictures of our faces. So if he'd be looking at Bilbo, he'd be looking at a terrible picture of me, or looking at Philly and Kenny with beautiful pictures of them. And that was very, very hard, you know, because I think the greatest thing for an actor, the thing that you really rely on most is looking in the eyes, and that's why I said, let me see your mouth, you know. But like, let me see the face of the person I'm acting with. And if you can't do that, if you can't see that person's face, and especially their eyes, it makes it really hard. So that was a big learning curve for us, to have to get round that technology of just looking at a wall when you'd much rather be looking at Ian McKellen, great actor as he is. It'd be much more helpful to see his eyes, but sometimes you just can't. And he almost had a nervous breakdown that day, because he was just in his room alone, just thinking, is this what acting has come to? When I started off 50 years ago, it was at the Old Vic or whatever, and now I'm looking at tennis balls lighting up. But he's a game old bird, and we all got over it. But yeah, in various different ways. Sometimes you're just on a rostrum, sometimes you're completely imagining people, and sometimes the creatures are really there, because they're very good at making, you know, well, not wargs. Wargs are obviously digitally enhanced, but you know, orcs certainly, you know, they're really there. So some of it is you don't have to imagine, but most of the time you're looking at a green area, just thinking, I'm terrified now. I'm terrified. You know.
Yeah. Okay. You said earlier that you were so I'm wondering, can I get a picture
That. What's the But how are you going to get? No, don't answer that. If I say how are you going to get it to me, you'll jump down. But I like your hat anyway.
Hi, Marsh Phyllis from
Hello.
Mom. Sorry, she'll kill me if I don't film it.
Oh, right.
You played a doctor on the very first episode of Black Book.
I did.
Have you ever played another small role that you would really have liked to reprise but didn't get to?
No, I mean, some of the small roles I played should have stayed small. In fact, probably should have been smaller than they actually were by the time I finished with them. No, I mean, that, for instance, was, you know, it was 2000, it was the beginning of the year 2000, and I was, you know, a young actor just wanting to do stuff that I liked, and at that time I was doing a lot more kind of overly comedic stuff. I was kind of one of the BBC's kind of, you know, young comedy actors, I suppose. It ended up being like that by accident somehow. And I liked the people who were involved in it. And it was, yes, I loved Black Books, but no one knew what it was going to be yet. I knew Dylan Moran from a show called How Do You Want Me, which he'd done a few years before, where he played a sort of shambling photographer, and he was brilliant. I knew Bill Bailey, so I knew he was good and all that. But no, that was just a good gig. And it was like a day's filming of me overacting. So yeah, overacting as a doctor. So I apologise for what I did there. Thank you.
Is there an actor, actress, or director who has just terrified you with their ability?
For anyone who didn't, is there an actor, or actress, or director who's terrified me with their ability? I I mean, to be honest, yeah, there are different things about different people. I don't know, for instance, how Peter Jackson keeps all of that information in his head. I don't know literally how he does that. So, you know, as he's giving you direction, he's sort of also editing at the same time, knowing where this scene is going to fit in 300 scenes time down the course of 3 films. That's amazing. Edgar Wright's very impressive. He's great just because, again, he's just a very visually funny person. Actors and actresses. Well, I mean, over the years, I've worked with Olivia Colman about 4 or 5 times. Not in anything particularly big, but I worked with her first on a sketch show years and years ago. And she was immediately, like, it was obvious she was brilliant, you know. And every time I've worked with her, it's been in kind of little things, and usually sort of comic things. But she's one of those people who's just a consummate actor. She's amazing, you know. Benedict's all right. I've seen worse. I mean, lots of people. I mean, weirdly, people you absolutely no way you would have heard of. I did plays at Scarborough, Stephen Joseph Theatre in Scarborough in Yorkshire when I was like 23, 24. And there were a couple of unknown actors, you know, people who'd just been around for a long time, who really kind of opened up a door for me about naturalism and about allowing yourself not to act, you know, and about not having to put acting on and just to be. You know, and Stephen Joseph Theatre is in the round, and so you're this close to some of the audience. It's terrifying.